Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Maybe good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us today, our first session of the Power Apps Portals Zero to Hero. We have a bunch of people online. Wow, this is incredible. Well, 40 people now. Um, Before we start, I would like to thank you for joining in this journey. I hope that we all can learn a bunch here. We have some folks who already know how to use portals, some that are starting in the journey. So the goal is not necessarily for one person to speak, although I'll be presenting all the time, but it's for everybody to interact and help each other to grow in this particular skill set. So thank you for joining again, and thanks for being part of this journey. So a couple of housekeeping items before we proceed. I've created a team for us to exchange information. So if you are live on this, watching this now, you can post your questions through the chat in this session. If you are watching this on demand, as the videos will be made available on demand, you can post questions that you may have on the chat. And any of the team members, if you know the answers, you are welcome to chime in and help the community. Sorry about the interference here. I'll configure this meeting to for folks to bypass the lobby. Um, but yeah, welcome, and let's dive right into it. Another question I have is if you have concerns about being in a recording, I would say maybe save your questions for later, or you can step out of the meeting altogether and watch it on demand. We will record it, and reason being is because I can only be live one time during the day, and we have people joining us from all sorts of places, and for them it's very late, so it's hard for them to watch to participate live. So again, if you have concerns about the recording, I'd say don't post your questions because you will be on YouTube later on today. So that is one thing I want to say. Um, as I proceed, if you can you give a shout out on the chat and let me know where you're joining from and maybe what time it is, just for fun, just for us to see how late it is where you are. For me here in Calgary, Alberta, is about lunchtime, so I guess I'm not eating lunch today. Anyways, we have people from India. Wow, it's midnight there. Atlanta. Hi, Jade. Hi, Thomas from Poland at 8 p.m. Scott, hello Scott. This is amazing. This is incredible. Kansas City. Oh wow, awesome. 1 p.m. All right, yeah. You can post the comments there. I'll move on here um, as time is short for this session. And let me share my screen. Paris. Salut, Claudia. Ça va bien? All right, let me share
Bien, du
this.
coup, ici.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Some of the guys on this chat are presenters. If you can help me, I would appreciate some help just admitting people onto the meeting if you can. If not, I'll pause every now and then admit people. I'll configure this better next time so folks can bypass the meeting. Um, all right. Again, a couple of things. I have created a Teams team for this session. If you are not part of that Teams, let me know either through LinkedIn or through this chat later on. Don't do it now, otherwise it will disrupt the flow here. But let me know. I can add you to the Teams team, and then you will be part of the group, and you can post questions there, and myself and other people can help you with answers as well. All right. And if you did not make to the mailing list, also let me know. A lot of the communications will be handled through that mailing list. So if you're not part of it, if you're not receiving those emails, again, let me know so I can make sure you get all the information that you need. All right, so for today, I have sent a couple of prerequisites for this first session. The first one was around Dataverge, and you see me reference Dataverge all the time here, and I can reference it by mentioning Dataverge or CDS or sometimes dynamics, entities, and all that. So forgive me if I use terminology that's no longer late in the latest per se, but some of us are still catching up in the changes in this particular market. So I may refer to, to Dataverge as CDS or just the Dynamics entities or CDM at times. I'll make sure that when I use the terminology, I point you in the right direction. All right. So the first lesson was around CDS or Dataverge. What is it, and what role does it play in the stack? This is really important. If you haven't completed that lecture, I'd say go through it and complete it that the soonest you can, because we are going to be using that a lot. And Power Apps Portal relies on that particular technology. All right. Um, the the second one is managing tables or entities in Dataverse CDS, right? Again, very important. We'll be looking into that in the context of portals. So please complete those lessons if you don't have any exposure to, you haven't had any exposure to CDS in Dataverse or Dataverse. And then the third one, it's the most important for us today, and that's what we're going to look at, is the intro to portals. So the introduction, it's very high level, and I apologize for folks who are already familiar with portals. We are going to look at stuff that you may be already very familiar with, but we have to do so that we bring the whole team to the same level. So without delays, I'm going to click on this particular lecture and we'll go through topics very fast. All right. So intro to portals. All right. So what is a Power Apps and what is the Power Platform? Power Platform is a platform that's targeted to mostly citizen developers, people who have understanding of the business but may not be heavily skilled or heavily trained into IT programming or computer programming. So the idea is that Microsoft provide features and tools for developers or citizen developers to create applications without having a vast knowledge of computer programming. So you have different technologies within that stack. You have Power Apps, Canvas apps, which allows folks to create applications for mobile devices, and that would be tablets, cell phones, etc. Then you have Power Automate, which is a technology that allows for a citizen developer, again, somebody who doesn't have very deep knowledge into programming languages or skills, to integrate systems using point and click or drag and drop capabilities. And then you have Power BI, which is again a citizen developer tool that allows folks to create dashboards, technology to expose information in a way that's easy for other users to consume. And then within that stack, you have the Power Apps portals. The Power Apps portals, most common scenario is for application or web application that's used for by clients of your company. So your mobile device app could potentially be used by clients, but the way that Microsoft designed the Canvas apps, it requires your users to log in using a paid license of Power Platform. Whereas in the portal, you can expose information to your clientele, to your end users' clients using a web-based approach. So you have common scenarios here where Power Apps portals can be used, events management, or if you want to enable tie your customers or bring your customers into your sales user story. Maybe folks here, you work for a company that collects leads through email, or they have some of the sales folks in your company have to type leads when they get back to the office. The idea is that you can expose a web application where your customers could directly submit leads, or they could directly request an order for your product, so on and so forth. So you remove that need of data re-entry, and you bring your customer closer to your processes. Then you have other types. You have partner management scenarios, or community websites where your community become part of your site, and then you can collect information about relationship management with your community members. And then I think the one that's most famous and out there, the one that I've seen most deployment is the customer service website. Again, it's a web application where your customer can log in and submit tickets, submit cases, and then your back office team can handle the case and provide updates. Any updates that are cataloged through your Dynamics application in the backend, then it's posted or updated on the portal, so your customers know real time the status of a case, what's going on, when somebody's going to come and fix my device, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what they're talking about here. There are capabilities of the portal. Centralized management, I think, is a big one. Portal is completely dependent on your Dataverse database. What that means is whatever you do in the database, again, Dataverse CDS or Dynamics database, whichever name you want to call, whatever changes take place in the database is immediately broadcasted to the portal. The portal's database itself is Dataverse CDS or Dynamics database. There is no intermediate database for portals. There are some other products out there that also expose a web experience, but those products rely on a separate database. So you then have issues with synchronizing information, may have issues with synchronizing information. But as far as portal goes, if you build a portal, you're saving that into the Dataverse database, Dynamics or CDS. All right. So that's one thing. So how do we get started with portals? So the first thing you need to get started with portals is a Dataverse environment. All right, and I know a lot of you already have that. Maybe some folks don't have it. So this is the first lesson or exercise of the day for this particular unit. If you need to create your environment and you don't have, your company doesn't have it, you can still do by accessing this web page, Power Apps Community Plan. It allows you to create your own environment, your individual environment. The only restriction you have here is that it's a single user environment in terms of the backend capabilities of, CDS. You cannot create your single environment, your individual environment, and then have multiple users, CDS users, share that particular environment. But for me, it works great when I'm trying new features and I wanted to quickly spin things off and just see how it looks. I use my community based plan environment. Any questions so far? How we get here? Let me post this link on the chat. That way you can all spin up your own environments. And you have to have an environment for this particular program. You need to have a place where you're going to try and create your portal. Okay. So again, first thing is having an environment. Once you do, you can access it by typing make.powerapps.com. And if for some reason you have access to multiple environments, you would see a list of them here. All right. So if you only have access to one, you'd see the one available here. All right. So environment's good to go. All right. You can move on. Once you have selected your environment, you can um, create a portal. I think the language create makes sense to some extent, but I think the terminology that would be more applicable would be provision a portal. And the reason why I say provision is because a lot of things happen when you want to create this type of application. What happens in the back end is when you click to create a portal, it's going to add a bunch of solution files to your CDS database or Dataverse database. It will add data to it as well, but also it will create an Azure app service to host your portal. So I remember back in the day when we had to do this manually. Sometimes it took like day or two to just get the infrastructure ready. And with the Power Platform in combination with Azure, it's just a matter of minutes. Sometimes 5 minutes. The most I've seen take the longer I've seen it take was 10 minutes. So what we do is you can either create it from here or you can create it from the create option. All right. The create option is a little different than the menu if you do it from apps. Is because if you do it from here, the only portal template that's available with this particular experience is blank. So it's a very vanilla based portal template. Whereas if you do it from the create option and you type portal, you may get additional things here. I don't have it on my environment, those additional options, because the additional option depends on other um, dynamics modules being installed in your environment. For example, if I had Dynamics 365 for sales, automatically I would get a template for partner management. If I had customer service um, module installed in my environment, then I would get the customer service template in my portal. So the first tip I would give is if you're doing this for a client or project you are working on, and those modules are installed, and the portal itself that you're building, it should be built for a particular user story, the customer service user story, for example. Use the template. Reason being is because you're gonna get a lot of features right off the bat. You won't have to create case management forms on your own. So rely on template as much as you can if you know the user story that you're after. Now, the second tip is pretty much reverse everything that I just said, but with a purpose, of course. If you don't know the user story that you're playing with, and you want to test some of this, you want to test portals, or your customer is unsure of what they need, I'd say start from blank, because the templates will add a lot of stuff that will give you a lot of trouble if you have to clean it up. All right. So again, if you know the user story and the user story is close to a particular template, use the template. If you don't know the user story, don't install a portal based on a template. Okay, questions so far? All right, moving on. So in my example here, or in my environment, I have installed a portal that I use for my demos. And if I wanted to add another portal, I can click here, new app, give it a name. So hero training is the name, can be whatever you want. Then the address you can choose in pick. When you tab out of that field, it will look up to see if this particular subdomain is available for you to provision. Of course, I have already used the maximum number of portals per my environment because I have a community environment, so I cannot create a new one. But it is this easy. When you get a new environment, you can just add the name, click create, and then it will be good to go. All right. So once the portal is created, you can click to navigate to it. And my portal will have a little bit of extra flavor because I have done a little bit of customization here in some of my demos. But essentially, this is what a blank portal looks like. Now you have a web experience that then you can expose to your customers. Few things here. First thing is, when you provision a portal and you select a subdomain, the first question I get from people is, well, I really don't like this URL. All of this stuff can be configured to your choosing. So you can add a customized URL. You can add a different secure certificate for that customized URL. So a lot of this stuff is customizable. So you don't have to panic if you see, name of your company.powerappsportals.com. No reason to worry about that. So that's the first view. Navigated to the portal. I can click and edit my portal. And that's going to give me an opportunity to customize my portal visually. So you can use the editor itself to customize your portals. I can change some of the text if my internet connection lets me. Come on. All right. So 20, 21, and then we'll do start, just as an example. As soon as I click out of that area, the Portal Studio will save it. Okay. I can, if I prefer to make these changes using HTML, I can click to see the HTML associated with the content, hit save, and it will be automatically saved. I can update my screen, see the changes, so on and so forth. So that's essentially the experience on creating portals. Let's see what else is here. All right, let's talk a little bit about features. Portal has accessibility built in. So if you have to add HTML content or information to make it more friendly to users who have any type of accessibility concerns, then it's all baked in. It's Bootstrap based. For folks who know what Bootstrap is, it's a CSS framework that allows you to brand and do more visual design and maintain your web experience as a responsive experience. And for folks who don't understand the terminology, responsive design is essentially you build an experience on the web, and then if that site is rendered on a mobile device, then it maintains its good looks. All right. So you don't have to design a website for a desktop and then another website for mobile devices. So that's another feature of portals. You can allow users to manage the content directly, not only through the studio experience, but also through the portal as they log on with particular permissions. These users can change the content of the pages themselves. I already spoke about responsive design. Some of this stuff we'll talk more as we get to it. Portal supports multilingual, so you can set up multiple languages and even enable some of the internal users of your company, let's say the marketing team, to change the content of the pages. And content is stored in different areas depending on which language you are dealing with. So you may have like one of the I speak Portuguese as a native language, and sometimes it takes 3 or 4 words to say, the same thing that I say in English to say in Portuguese. Since since Portal stores all these assets separately, your translation of pages and content doesn't really have to be an automatic translation one to the other. You can have more content in a specific language that you do on another one. So Portal handles that very well. Then extensibility. I think the major advantage of portals versus the other Power Apps tools for applications, for that matter, is that it leverages objects that you have created in your Dataverse or CDS or Dynamics. All the stuff that you build in the backend can be exposed through portals. So let's say that you design a CDS form or a CDS view for your customer. Those objects can be exposed directly on portals with very, very minimum effort. So those will be the things that we'll look into, always with the perspective of a citizen developer. I am a developer myself. I've been in this particular field for more time than I can remember. And when I started, I had hair, so you can see that things have have passed. But I myself, I try to use as much as citizen developer features, point and click configuration, as much as I can before I resort to code. So the approach that we're going to take on this class is use as much as citizen developer features, out of the box features to achieve your goals until you reach a point that you say, you know what, I can't do, and this particular request cannot be done with out of the box components. So let's go with code. But yeah, that's the approach I will take. And extensibility to me is the biggest feature, or the most powerful feature of portals. And not only extensibility of CDS or Dataverse objects, but you have extensibility to a point where you can expose Power BI dashboards to portals. You can expose a SharePoint document library through portals, all built in out of the box. All right. Then security. Portal has a security model of its own. Uh, Again, the data is always hosted in CDS, but when you talk about securing your information or securing access to pages, portals will use its own setup to ensure that you can maintain some sort of control at the portal level. And what I mean by that is, in Dynamics, you can control who has access to a particular table or entity, and the level of access, right? And in portals, there's no way that I can replicate automatically that security model. But there is a security model in portal that allows me to say, if this particular user logs in, only show data that's related to the user, either through the company that he works for or data that he himself created, so on and so forth. Again, the security model is similar to what we have in Dynamics, but you don't inherit the same security model. You have to configure depending on how you want your portal to behave. But it's to me, it's a cool feature. It allows you to do all sorts of interesting setup. And then functionality. Functionality, this column is tied to templates. So case deflection, case management, knowledge base management, discussion forums, all this stuff will be made available depending on the template that you install on your portals. The only one that I see here, or a few that I see here that are installed with the basic version of portals, is the language and also delegated administration. Um, the other stuff is available from the get-go if you install templates. If not, you have to configure it yourself. Features is still there, but you have to configure it yourself. All right. Okay, what we got next, we already saw how we provision a portal. Core components. The main entity of portals, or the main table of portals, is a web page. And again, since this is an introduction, I'm not gonna dive into it too much. But I wanted you to start to recognize some of the names, the object names that you're gonna see here in the future. So web pages is pretty much core for portals. You don't see anything unless you have a web page. So all the other stuff, entity forms, entity views, will be made available through a web page. So just for the sake of it, let's hop back into the studio. And then in here, I'm going to create a new page. And I have two particular layouts that I can use. I'm going to use blank page. And here I can add the name of my page. So sample page is the name. Let me capitalize it. Okay, that's the name of my page. I can attribute the URL that I want to use for my page. And when I click out of the object, it's supposed to save. Now, personally, I really don't like this experience. I would prefer that the Microsoft would have thrown in a save button, but that's how they are operating. Make sure that you save your assets before you move on. Otherwise you have the risk of losing it. So I can click on a particular area and add components. I'm gonna add a text component to my area here. So now I have text. I can type, hello, this is me. Click out. All right. Let me see if we can mute whomever is on. All right, so it's saved. I can browse the website and see this page in action. So that's my page. Nothing really going on there, just a simple page. Can go back to the studio and say, now I want to add an image. So I can click add an image. Image is there. Then I can select an image. This one already exists in my database, but I can upload one if I want, or even reference an image comes from an external location, right? So this is supposedly saved. I can go back to my tab here, refresh, and now I have a page. All right. Okay. So another thing that I can do, and I hope I'm not diving too deep here, is I can play with HTML components directly. Okay. I can say, all right, I am going to add a bootstrap well object. And in here, I'm going to add an H1. Again, here I can save. There is a preview of my object. Then I can go back to the page and display it there. I know my page doesn't really look great, but I want to show you a few concepts and prove an understanding, reinforcing understanding of what a page looks like and what that object is. All right, we have 10 minutes on the clock here. I'm gonna pause and open the mic for those who have questions. And while I open up, if folks have video and if they want to expose their video so we can grab a screenshot, it would be greatly appreciated. You know?
Victor, in the studio that you saw, there was a button called Sync Configuration. Can you talk a bit about it?
So the sync configuration is sometimes you make changes in the back end, and we're gonna see this later on. But sometimes you make changes directly in the data verge environment, and you want those changes to synchronize to your portal, right? So that's what this is for. It's basically reading data verge. Um, let me dive a little bit more into it. So portals is connected to data version CDS. Okay, when you first load portals, it takes a little while to charge, if you will, because it's going all the way across the pipe to get all that data information and bring it to the cache, right? So any changes made through the studio and made through the portal itself, and we're gonna look at ways that you can make changes here directly as we proceed. These changes are pushed immediately to CDS and data verge, okay? But you can go to data verge and CDS and make changes to objects that are related to portals. Those changes are not pushed immediately to portals, okay? Because portals is running over cache information, information that is cached so that it maintains speed and performance, right? So sometimes you make changes in the back end and you want those changes to be propagated through to the portals cache. So this is what it does on the sync. And there is another way that you can really force almost like a full reload of the portals. And we're going to look into that as well. There is a question from Jade. If you want more than one user, yes, you can have a paid version of CDS, and companies do. It's just for the community plan. You can't really pay to have more users within that community plan instance.
Okay, so yeah, I want to like test this out with the Dynamics backend.
Okay.
Dynamics connected to my portal. Is there a way to do that as like a trial?
Do you have one environment in the company you work for that has all the licenses, or you want to do it all on your own?
On my own. Yeah, I work, with a company that has theirs, but I want to kind of set up my own.
So they announced this. I'll be quite frank with you. I did not have the time to test it, but when you have an instance, they've allowed you to install the Dynamics modules even in a trial or sandbox environment. So I am on the admin area of Power Platform,
Mm-hmm.
and if I click on the particular environment I'm playing with, you see that I can go to resources
Mm-hmm.
and add the Dynamics apps.
Oh.
So maybe it's not showing up for me because this is a node environment, but some of the apps will show up,
Mm-hmm.
and you can add sales and customer service, so on and so forth.
Okay.
If you really need more users, like, and what I mean by users is backend users of data verge, not necessarily users of portals. Those are two different things, and we'll see it later on. But
Okay.
if you need more backend users, I'd say instead of creating a community plan, go with the trial.
Okay.
I mean, you have 30 days, but it's like 30 days plus 30 days, so you have 60 days to play with that yourself.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So that's
That
back-end users of like creating portal, but as far as portal contacts, like there's no limit on that.
there is no limit.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah. So the limitation on the community plan is only for backend. Essentially, the user that you logged in here.
Okay, cool.
All right, Scott. If you have a production instance of Dynamics, you can also Oh, it's answering the questions, I suppose. Yes. Yes, Cheryl, you can have a 25 free user license. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a proof of concept and you have to do all kinds of stuff like omni-channel and all those stuff, I'd say go with the trial because then you can use the strategy of free user trial licenses as well. How many portal applications you can have per environment? You can have one per environment as a trial, but you can pay for as many as you want. And I will need to re-educate myself on licensing for portals. It used to be that you paid one extra 400 and somewhat dollars for an extra portal. Now you can buy, I suppose, a license of power power apps per user per app license, and then you can have a different portal. But don't I know this is in recording, but do not take my word for it yet. We'll learn as we go. All right. Any additional questions? If you already have a
Yes,
candidate,
I have a question.
go for it, Marcus.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a way to track the file version, different type of different versions
Of the portal.
of the files, or change or change?
Oh, how you handle ALM and
Yeah,
such?
tracking.
Yeah, we'll look into that as we go. Portal is data, right? A lot of what we see on the screen, all this
Mm-hmm,
stuff. Sorry, all this stuff you see on the screen is data that's stored in Dynamics. So
mm-hmm.
the strategy for ALM is essentially data export between one environment to another. And we'll see how people do it. There is a way that you can fully automate this. There is one guy, I forgot his name, Eugene, I think, from New Zealand that has a lot of materials there on ALM for portals. If you're dealing with a simple portal, you can use the XRM toolbox called Portals Records Mover.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. Tool is done by, I think it's done by Tanguy and Gene Novak. May be wrong, but this is what I usually almost every time. What I use almost every time.
Okay, I see. Yeah. The best practice is using XRM toolbox, right?
Um, I wouldn't say best practice. The easiest for me is XRM Toolbox, but there is a set of tools and procedures that this guy from New Zealand uses to automate that process. The XRM
Mm-hmm.
toolbox doesn't fully automate it, and what I mean by that is, let's say that you have DevOps in place and you have all your tasks outlined in DevOps, and as developers complete those tasks, you want those changes to be promoted across environments. You won't get that with the XRM toolbox. You need with XRM toolbox, you need someone making those pushes across environments.
Okay, I see.
What this
Thank you.
guy promotes is you set up DevOps, you filter data automatically, and then you configure the script so that as tickets are completed, it will push those changes across the environment automatically. And Scott is asking if we can, yeah, we can push some of the artifacts to using GitHub and Azure DevOps, but you have to build it yourself. There isn't anything out there that's prepackaged. It's much like what you do with Dynamics DevOps, right? You have to create your own scripts.
So Victor, I also saw like I was using XRM Toolbox portal record migration tool, but alternatively there is also one more tool which came from Microsoft called Common Data Service Configuration Migration.
Yeah.
So I have used that as well, which does pretty much exactly what the XRM Toolbox plugin does.
Yes. What I like about the XRM toolbox is it's easy for me to filter what I want to move at a time, right? So especially if you have just one single environment where developers are doing all kinds of things, you can say, I just want to move this page, or I just want to move this template, so on and so forth. Whereas you can do the same with the configuration migration, but then you have to add your filters. You have to create the filters as you select information. But yeah, you can most definitely use it. There is one yet another approach, which is Jim Novak took the record movers tool, and what he did is he created a console, like a command line of sorts of the portal's record movers. So essentially, you can prepackage your scripts using his console application, and then somehow automate the pushing of the portals, right? Maybe using PowerShell or something similar. All right, I think we are 1 minute past time. And I guess we are not going to do the video. I don't want to force anybody to be on video. I mean, it'd be cool if all were at the same time just for a screen grab, but it's okay. We'll try to do it next time. Again, all right, Tiago, you're here. Hey, man. All right, I'll get with Tiago and whomever else wants to be on the photo ops. All right. Anyone else? Jade. Okay. Anybody else showing up? All right. On the count of three. All right. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right, folks. All right. Sunil, I'll take another one just because you joined. Come on, man.
Wait.
I even got my hair done today just to be on this photo.
Everyone's coming on now.
Yeah, you should have told me before. Yeah,
awesome. Now. Awesome. All right. Yeah. I got you.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week. If you are able to, please complete the next lesson before the time, so you can have more questions. And again, this is a conversation more than anything. All right. So feel free to ask questions. If you want to wait for next week's sync, we can do it there. We can also you can also post it on the Teams channel. I forgot to mention, we have a lot of folks from Brazil here on the call. If you feel more comfortable posting your questions in Portuguese, you can do it too. We'll try to reply. Even French, I can bring back my French, maybe. Anyhow, well, thank you so much, everybody. Keep safe.
Yeah, Victor, last question.
All right.
Can we add this theme in our default, like our organization? Like, what is the idea?
Add this theme. Sorry,
it's okay. I'll figure it out later, and maybe because it's late for everyone.
Yeah, I'll try to reply. I mean, you can send me a message.
Okay, sounds good.
Everybody. Thanks so much. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. This is great.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Victor.
Bye. Thanks.